What if I told you that 12 towns in Ohio just vanished, and the scariest part has nothing to do with hauntings? You've probably heard the ghost stories, the crying bride, the pebble-throwing figure in the tunnel. Honestly, those legends are kind of cute compared to the actual truth. Because the real story is about coal money drying up overnight, canals going obsolete, and entire communities getting bulldozed into national parks. We're ripping the ghost fluff off all 12 of these places today and showing you what actually killed them. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Number 1. Boston Mills. So Boston Mills didn't die from a plague or a fire or anything dramatic like that. The federal government just showed up in the 1970s with a checkbook and bought the whole town. Like, thanks for living here. Here's some money, now leave. That's how Cuyahoga Valley National Park got made. But here's what nobody tells you. Some residents didn't want to go. So when they finally did leave, the buildings just sat there inside the park boundary, rotting in the woods. And empty houses rotting in a forest? That's basically a ghost story machine. The crybaby bride, the satanic church, the toxic dump cover-up. All of it spawned from that one federal real estate transaction. Number 2. Moonville. Moonville's ghost is named Baldy Keaton, and he throws pebbles at you from inside a tunnel. That's the legend. Honestly, it's perfect. Specific, weird, and just creepy enough to make people drive out to the middle of Appalachian, Ohio to find it. But here's what nobody leads with. Moonville was a coal town that basically blinked out of existence. It started in 1856, built entirely around mining and the Marietta-Cincinnati Railroad. Then a smallpox epidemic hit in the 1890s and gutted the workforce. The mines closed by the 1920s, and the last family left in 1947. What's there now? One tunnel, that's it. No buildings, no foundations, just forest and brick. People pull up the GPS coordinates, 39.308443 minus 82.324566, and treat it like a pilgrimage. And what they're actually pilgrimaging to is the skeleton of a coal economy that collapsed 100 years ago. The tunnel survived because tunnels are just really hard to knock down. Everything else? Gone. Number 3. Tadmor. And if you thought Moonville was rough, Tadmor didn't even get a tunnel. It got nothing. No legend, no landmark, no Reddit thread. Just gone. Here's the thing about Knox County in the 1800s. Everyone was platting towns. You picked a spot, gave it a name, and just assumed commerce would show up eventually. Sometimes it did. But here's the catch. The railroad was basically God back then. If the line ran through your town, you lived. If it went 3 miles east instead, you became a field. That's Tadmor. No rail stop, no canal, no industry. Just optimism and then silence. And the really unsettling part? There's no ghost story. Not even folklore survived. Just people who built lives there. And then nothing. Number 4. Old Shawnee. Old Shawnee didn't fade out. It got replaced. A newer version of Shawnee popped up nearby in Perry County, and the original just got left behind like a phone you forgot to trade in. And this happened fast. Perry County was one of the most active coal regions in Ohio during the late 1800s. But here's the catch. Those weren't really towns. They were company infrastructure with a post office attached. The company owned the houses, ran the store, and made every decision that mattered. So when a better mine shaft opened 2 miles away, the company just moved. No announcement, no ceremony. People stopped showing up, and Old Shawnee stopped existing. The paycheck moved. Everyone followed it. Number 5. New Birmingham. And if you thought Old Shawnee was bold, someone in Tuscarawas County looked at a patch of Ohio dirt in the 1870s and said, "We're building Birmingham here. The Birmingham, iron, steel, industrial powerhouse." They were literally trying to out-England England in Ohio. So investors poured money in. A furnace went up. Workers showed up. And for a hot minute, It actually looked like it might work. But here's the catch. Furnace economics are brutal. The margins are razor thin. One bad year, one shift in freight rates, one cheaper competitor, and that furnace goes cold permanently. Which is exactly what happened. What's left is furnace stacks and slag piles. They named it after one of the most successful industrial cities on Earth. That's not inspiring. That's just painful. Number 6, Utopia. Okay, the name alone. Utopia. Someone in Claremont County in 1847 looked at a patch of Ohio riverbank and said, "Yeah, this is where we build the perfect society," and they meant it. First, it was a Fourierist commune. That failed. Then a spiritualist community moved in with a whole new theory about how humans should live together. That failed too. Every time one group gave up, another wave of optimists showed up ready to try again. But here's what actually killed it. The Ohio River just kept flooding the whole thing. Repeatedly. Mercilessly. And communal economies in the 1800s had zero margin for disaster. No savings, no outside investment, no plan B. They called it Utopia. The river called it a floodplain. The river was right. Number 7, Coaldale. So the name Coaldale is not subtle. This was a coal town. Only ever a coal town. And when the coal stopped making money, Coaldale stopped being anything at all. Here's the thing about company towns in Perry County. The company owned everything. The houses, the store, the roads, sometimes even the church. And workers got paid in company scrip, which is basically fake money that only worked at the company store. So when the mine closed, workers didn't just lose their jobs, they lost access to food. Overnight, no explosion, no epidemic. Just a ledger that stopped working in the company's favor and a company that walked away from every single obligation it had. Let that sink in. The whole setup was already a trap. Number 8, Santoy. Santoy had between 1,000 and 2,000 residents at its peak. Post office, school, company housing, a whole functioning town. And it did all of that in roughly 30 years. That's a faster life cycle than some TV shows. The Sunday Creek Coal Company built it, ran it, and when the seams played out, they closed it. Post office shut down in 1930. By mid-century, the forest just started eating the buildings. But here's what gets me. People who were born in Santoy watched it disappear before they were old. That's not a ghost town. That's a town that got used up. No legend, no memorial. Just a name on an old postal record and some foundation stones in the woods. Number 9, Newcastle. Newcastle in Coshocton County had a real furnace, real workers, and real ambition. And then the bottom fell out so fast that people reportedly left furniture behind when they cleared out. Here's the thing about iron furnace towns. They needed 3 things to survive: local ore, local fuel, and a rail connection to move the pig iron. Lose any one of those, and the furnace goes cold for good. By the 1880s, Pittsburgh was producing steel at a scale and price that made Newcastle's whole operation look like a lemonade stand. And Newcastle couldn't pivot. Iron was literally all it did. Number 10. Put-in-Bay's old military zone. Now Put-in-Bay, you know it as the Lake Erie Party Island. Wine tours, ferry rides, sunburned tourists. But there's a corner of that island that nobody puts on the brochure. The federal government militarized parts of Put-in-Bay from the Civil War straight through both world wars. Infrastructure went up. Then the military decided it didn't need it anymore and just left, walked away. And because it's an island, demolition is expensive and complicated, so most of those structures just stayed exactly where they were. Number 11, Irishtown Bend. Here's one that'll mess with you. Irishtown Bend isn't out in the woods somewhere. It's inside Cleveland. Right on the west bank of the Cuyahoga River, sitting inside a major American city like a missing tooth. Irish immigrants built a real community there in the 1800s. Churches, taverns, housing, the whole thing. but it was always wedged between the river and the steel mills and shipping operations lining it. When that industry dried up, the neighborhood had nothing left to hold it together. People left. Buildings fell apart or got torn down. But here's what nobody tells you. The hillside there is literally sliding into the river. Still, the ground itself gave up. Number 12, Zaleski's Old Town Site. So, Zaleski in Vinton County still exists. Tiny village, still on the map. But the original settlement? Gone. Swallowed by Zaleski State Forest, thousands of acres of managed woodland sitting right on top of what used to be one of the hottest iron-producing zones in the entire country. And I mean that literally. The Hanging Rock Iron region pumped out roughly 20% of all American iron at its peak. 20%. Then Pittsburgh scaled up, the big Great Lakes operations kicked in, and by the 1880s, the whole region just collapsed. Now hikers walk the Zaleski backpacking trail past old slag heaps and furnace ruins without even knowing what they're stepping over. Zaleski State Forest is beautiful. It's also a graveyard for an entire industrial era. The ghost stories are fun, sure. Baldy Keaton throwing pebbles, the crybaby bride, great content. But those legends exist because nobody wants to admit a town can disappear just because a railroad rerouted 3 miles east. That's the actual scary part, because that can happen anywhere, including where you live right now.